Welcome to ASK-A-WAI. I'm John Pollock. I don't know why I'm on this show, actually. It's ASK-A-WAI.
Well, okay, let's change the name of the show.
Ask-A-John would probably solicit
You've
questions we don't want.
We've made this exact same joke.
I know.
It's
It's time to recycle it.
3 weeks ago.
Recycle, reuse, reduce.
Let's just reuse the same questions. Let's just answer the same questions again.
We could probably get away with it.
Yeah.
Why do you no-sell John's puns when he drops them out of nowhere like an RKO? Let's start off. What do we have here? Derek, spelt in a different way. D-A-R-R-I-C-K. I love the chemistry you guys have as co-hosts. When did you realize that you were onto something special as a duo? I like these questions. It's like brag about yourselves for a minute to 2 minutes. When did you realize that I was your penguin, as Gold Dust and R-Truth are soon going to find out they are to one another?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I feel like...
He may not feel that way, folks.
Some weeks I don't.
Whoa!
But I'm sure you feel the same. But no, I don't think you realize that, people like hearing us talk until we hear that from people. Otherwise, it's just like me talking to my friend. I feel like a lot of people, if they record their conversations with some of their best friends, I'm sure a lot of people would find that entertaining as well. It's just, we're actual friends. That's the thing.
If you're gonna do a show, do it with someone you like, or someone you hate. That would probably be a different kind of chemistry, but that could be fun too.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, that could work as well. So experiment.
Yeah.
Just record all conversations that you have.
Yeah, it's always fun. Let's go to the next one there, because we really do hate talking about ourselves. Yeah. You guys have covered tons of MMA and wrestling events. What are your favorite live events? Favorite live events. Okay, that's different than.
What's your favorite live show that you've gone to?
Let's see. Ones that I've enjoyed live.
Give me one for wrestling. Give me one for MMA.
I mean, I really enjoyed being there live for UFC 175 in 2014. That was that awesome fight with Chris Weidman and Lyoto Machida, and also with Ronda Rousey and Alexis Davis, which ended super quick, but was really cool because that was one where most times at MMA shows, I'm always in the back area. I rarely go out into the crowd, but I did for the last 2 fights because our interviews were done for the night. I was like, let's go watch this in the stands. And that was a lot of fun to watch those. You had 2 very memorable fights, but for different reasons. One was 5-round war, and the other one was a super quick finish by Rousey.
Well, I was stuck in the back for that one.
Oh, you missed it.
So I missed it, but I did get to go out to the arena for UFC 189, which was McGregor versus
Chad
Mendes, and that was the first time I had experienced a Conor McGregor crowd, and I snuck out there for the main event just because I had to, and just to be in that crowd full of those crazy drunken Irish people celebrating that win. It was very memorable, very, very memorable. Do you have a favorite wrestling event that you've covered?
That have covered.
I mean, they would be WrestleManias, right? They'd be.
Yeah, those are the ones that.
Actually, the Raws after WrestleMania.
Yeah, those have been fun to go to. I will say the night after WrestleMania 30 was not a lot of fun. Not so much for the show, but given that we were literally put in this. We were put into the press area, which is way up top, but they told us we cannot turn the lights on. So we were literally in the dark. I'm trying to take notes. It was just there. You had no. We didn't even have the ability to go to the washroom without turning the flashlight on our phone, and it was just not a pleasant experience.
I didn't mind it so much. You had to take notes. I feel bad.
Well, we had to do a show right after. It's like I would have much rather just bought tickets and gone and sat. But I don't want to complain about comp tickets.
What show was that? Was that what happened on that?
Paige debuted. They also had. They were going to do a rematch with Triple H and Daniel Bryan, but it didn't start. So it was Bryan's post-Mania celebration.
But it wasn't the Fandango one? Wasn't the...
No, that was the year before. That was the year before.
Right. That was my favorite.
That one was fun.
Love that one.
I mean, WrestleManias most years have been pretty good shows to actually watch and stuff like that. Certainly the reaction by some to The Undertaker's loss that one year, that was, I'll never forget that.
I mean, my own reaction, I'll never forget it. You know what I mean? I'm sure every wrestling fan.
You were more composed.
What were you?
No, I'm saying both of us were very composed in comparisons to others.
Yeah, I wasn't a Big Eye fan. I wasn't crying. Okay, let's just say. I went to the bathroom after the match.
Oh, okay.
And there were people like still in shock, grown-ups that were like having a tough time. They needed to compose themselves in the bathroom.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Wrestling's awesome.
That's fun. There was also the year in Miami was a lot of fun because it was completely open, so you could hear the crowd. I mean, a lot of times we're in like an enclosed area, so you don't really have that connection to the crowd. But the Miami one was completely open air, and the reaction for that Triple H, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, I thought it was either number 1 or number 2 of the most heated matches I've ever been to, with Hogan Rock being the other.
You might get a similar effect at this year's Hell in a Cell, WrestleMania.
Well, I won't be able to judge the live crowd, at least in a live setting. But maybe, perhaps, maybe it's going to go off and there's going to be the Shane O'Mac Shuffle will be the new dance craze coming out of WrestleMania, and everyone's going to be doing it, and they're going to be chanting Shane O'Mac at the biggest WrestleMania. Okay, to Peter here. How did you guys watch WCW in the late 90s in Canada? I'm curious, because for me, it was either 1 p.m. on Saturdays on CTV when they showed Nitro starting in late 96, or TSN around 1998, I think on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Correct. Safe to say, it was tough to really watch any WCW programming during their whole existence in Canada. I know there was WCW Saturday Night on TBS, but I was too poor to get those channels on my cable packages. Thank goodness for the free preview weekends. That gave me Channel 47 in Toronto for TBS those odd weekends. Yeah, TBS was available in Canada, but you're right, you had to upgrade your cable package to get it, because that would have Saturday Night and later had Thunder as well. Nitro, as I
had worldwide as well.
Worldwide? Yeah, I believe so. For Nitro, I recall it being Sundays, where they had a 1-hour edited version that was hosted by Mark Robinson out of Canada, and they just showed a 1-hour condensed Nitro 6 days after it aired in the States.
Kind of like the Hulu version of Raw.
Yeah, kind of like that. And then they eventually did get onto TSN, and I think they bounced around and then finally settled on Wednesday afternoons, which when they expanded to 3 hours, it aired from 3 till 6 p.m. on Wednesdays. But we never got Nitro earlier than Wednesday afternoon.
I think Wednesday afternoon was actually a perfect time for me as a teenager, because on Mondays at 4 o'clock is when you'd watch Raw. Or, okay,
Tuesdays,
sorry. So this is what would happen. Some kids would stay up Monday nights to watch Raw, or at least they would hear about it. But I think the vast majority of people that I went to school with would hear about what was good on Raw and then decide to tune in maybe at Tuesday at 4 o'clock on TSN. So on Tuesdays you'd catch Raw. But then Wednesday is when you would have time to catch Nitro. So it was definitely more of a delayed reaction, but you would get full time with all the shows.
Yeah, I think that, when you think about, like, if you just have followed Nitro and Raw in the US, you have no idea kind of the difficulties in Canada. Even when Raw finally moved to the Score and left TSN, they still had this issue with Canadian content where we had to get Raw at 9:15 as opposed to 9 o'clock because they had to fulfill a certain amount of Canadian content. So we got
live content.
Live content, I should say. And so we got horse racing for 15 minutes. So we'd always be 15 minutes behind that of the US.
The perfect lead-in to
horse racing. Yes. So it's a chore to follow wrestling in Canada. You're spoiled today. Now we get Raw live at the normal start time on Monday nights on Sportsnet 360, which is widely available.
Now there's almost too much.
Yeah, now people complain there's too much, but you had to really do some work for it. But there you go. That was WCW. And let's do one more here. Have you guys ever had a mark out moment where you said to yourself, holy shit, I can't believe I'm going to be interviewing this person? If so, who? Tim Robbins, right, for you?
No.
No? Was there any weigh-in interviews you did that were memorable ones?
I don't think I've ever had I can't believe I'm going to be interviewing this person type of vibe, but I mean, I'll say, like, even behind the lens sometimes I feel like I can't believe I'm staring at this person, this close away from this person. And I had that actually at the UFC that you mentioned with Ronda Rousey.
Right.
Cause like I don't know what it is, but like I never get starstruck. But I guess at that time even this woman has been built up to be such a almost like a
deity.
Yeah, like somebody who I think history will look back on the level of a Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? Or at least somewhere as close as maybe MMA could never get to that. And so I don't know. I definitely was a bit starstruck just even being close.
Yeah, I'm trying to think that. I mean, I don't recall ever having that reaction of like, oh my God,
You don't get starstruck at all.
Well, I'll put it this way. I remember when I started doing interviews for the law, especially, there was a period in 2005 where in the course of like 10 days, I interviewed Steve Austin, Bill Goldberg, Kevin Nash, and I want to say one other name. And it all happened within the span of 2 weeks. And it was more the idea of like, oh, I better not fuck this up. That's what I think about when when you have a notable person. I definitely have this issue I have where whenever I'm interviewing someone, I'm always feeling I don't want them to feel they're wasting their time during this interview. So I better make this worth their while.
I feel like you have that feeling when you're talking to anybody. Like when you're talking to me.
I don't care how much of your time. I feel I'm contributing a lot to your existence. But yeah, I think I have to get over the fact that they look at this as a chore, because I think of it when I hear, different fighters, especially during fight week. It's like, man, they've done 1 million of these interviews, and I have to balance between I don't want to just ask all the same questions. At the same time, there are key questions that someone listening to my show, they might not be following others, and they do want to know. So it's like, I'm not going to make everything an obscure question that they haven't been asked, but you also want to make it a pleasant interview that they have. The most recent one, I love this interview that I just got to do last week with Miesha Tate. Here she was, and it's a world of difference talking to a fighter after a fight as opposed to before. It was just real. This performance at 196 was one of the most remarkable I had ever watched in a UFC fight. And here I get to talk to her just a few days after this title win. And I've always enjoyed talking to Miesha Tate. And here it is. She's literally on top of the world. And, it's an honor getting to talk to someone like that just days after and getting to ask them about this incredible fight that you just got to watch.
Yeah, I don't think we get enough of those, the post-fight interviews, where you get to talk to a fighter when they're completely relaxed.
I might start doing that for the MMA report. Just do post interviews.
Sure, why not?
Because the pre ones at times are just like, they don't want to be there. And I don't blame them. Because if I was cutting weight, I would not want to be doing interviews either.
Yeah.
Format change coming.
The problem is, when you're doing a show like the MMA report, you want to preview what's coming up. Everybody's talking about what's coming up next, not necessarily what happened 2 weeks ago.
Well, we'll find out. They also, when a fight is over, most fighters want to just shut off everything because they've just done all the media that they ever want to do, and they don't want to talk anymore.
They're not getting paid anymore for doing this interview.
They have nothing to promote. Yeah, it is true. So who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to wrap up this week's edition of ASK-A-WAI. Coming up this Sunday night on The Law, we're going to be joined by Kurt Angle. What a guest.
Whoa. From UR Fight.
Yes, this will be
the post-UR Fight.
Well, we will be running down the UR Fight event where he is taking on Rey Mysterio. How about that? Jim Ross is going to be calling Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio.
Feels just like Raw or SmackDown.
Yes, even at SummerSlam 2002, it was Cole and Taz that called that match.
Right, there you go.
I wonder when the last time that Jim Ross called a Rey Mysterio match. It would have been that brief time he was on SmackDown, I would guess. All right.
Interesting.
So that's coming up Sunday night, 11 Eastern. We've also begun our look back at WrestleMania 23. This past week's Review Away focused on the go-home Raw that year of 2007 going into WrestleMania 23. And next week, we're going to have a massive review on WrestleMania 23, and that's coming your way.
Yeah, Jim Ross is actually on this week's review talking about
That's right.
his Hall of Fame induction.
Yes, it was a memorable moment that night on Raw, announcing Jim Ross going into the Hall of Fame, the Chicago crowd giving him a 1 minute and 19 second standing ovation. and Jim Ross comments on that night on Raw at the Allstate Arena. So check it out, liveaudiowrestling.com. Subscribe and leave feedback on iTunes. We prefer 5-star ratings and great feedback. And subscribe to this YouTube channel. Pass it around. Share this video. We want to know that people are watching.
And leave your questions. Leave your questions both on the message board as well as underneath here on YouTube.
Perfect. We'll speak with you next week.